Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody. My name is Fantasy Hawkeye, and welcome back here to the Fantasy Hawkeye Show here on YouTube. This is episode number 4. Quick little introduction as to what we will be getting into here today. We're going to start right away here with Iowa. As I talked about last episode, I wanted to go over Big Ten Media Days for Iowa and give my thoughts on what Kirk said in his press conference last week. As well as, of course, LeBron, as everybody knows by now, LeBron decided to go to Philadelphia. I haven't been able to give my thoughts here on that until now, and I will be doing that here today. As well as the MLB Trade Deadline was yesterday. So we're going to be going over all the bigger moves and my thoughts on that here today. So let's go ahead and get started here with, I'm still getting things, still fiddling with stuff here. Sorry about that. If I end up glancing over to the left periodically, I'm charging my headset currently. So I'm going to hop on games after I'm recording this here. I ran some errands this morning, and I'm just making sure that this is still plugged in, charging, everything's going good there. So, sorry if I end up just glancing over at times today. I know, this isn't like, we all know this isn't professional. I mean, come on now. It's not going to be. It's just me spitballing about sports. We all know this. Alright, so, Kirk's press conference key points, per se. As expected, no quarterback has been officially decided yet. And he did, come out with a really strong possibility of seeing both Hank and Jeremy week 1 against Northern Illinois, as we are about a month away now from week 1. So, my thoughts on that are, I'm not surprised. I would like to see both of them, to be fair, play week 1 against Northern Illinois. But to be fair, I'm one of those guys who doesn't like, I don't like having quarterback competitions go into like weeks 2 and 3 and beyond. I'm okay with running both of them week 1, maybe some in week 2 as well, to a degree. But after that, I've never really been a huge fan of it at all, because it disrupts passing games. You know, everybody is different. Everybody throws the ball differently. Everybody, does things differently. Everybody's built differently. And you have to, as an offense, you still have to have that chemistry with that one guy. And I just have never been a fan of that at all. Just having that disruption of having two guys for more than 2-3 games. If you get what I mean here. So, even though I get it to a degree, there are advantages to still having somebody decided fully by week 1, and I would prefer that. I'm just going to say right now, I would prefer that. But at the same time, I would still like to see both guys play week 1. So it's kind of a double-edged sword there as to, positives and negatives to both sides of that. We're going to talk about the offensive line here next. Kirk did say something really fascinating about the offensive line depth at Big Ten Media Days. He said that currently, right now, he would play 7, 8, maybe even 9 offensive linemen right now in rotation. And for him to come out and say that is... Sorry, I just got a sleep... fantasy basketball notification, sorry. For that, I'm not surprised, because last week we talked about that there were 5 upperclassmen offensive linemen still on our roster, despite having 3 guys go to the NFL last April. So, for me, that just makes me even more excited to watch this offensive line this year. The fact that Kirk comes out and says that he's comfortable playing I don't know, 7, 8, maybe even 9 guys. That's a lot of depth. And I'm really, really excited to see how the rotation stacks up there. A lot of people were concerned about the offensive line, and I wasn't, and I'm still not. I think it's going to be a great offensive line this year, to be fair, and this makes me even more confident in that. Addison Ostrenga, who tore his Achilles last year, ended up going to more of a leadership role. More of a coaching and leadership role last year, and I'm really happy to see that. He's a great tight end to begin with, but DJ Vanami will be the next great tight end at Iowa, I believe. Addison Ostrenga is going to be a strong number 2 for sure in the tight end room behind Zach Ortworth and Michael Burt, who are competing for the number 3 spot currently. And we'll see how that goes, obviously. I'm really excited to see what Ostrenga can bring to the table this year in terms of the depth at tight end being one of the captains of the offense this year. It'll be really interesting to see. And then there are clear favorites on special teams. I feel like Eli Osric will be most likely end up being the kicker for us. We'll see what happens on kickoffs and punting, but there are clear favorites. Things are still up and down, which is to be expected. I mean, I'm not anticipating special teams to be like the big thing this year. I'm anticipating the offensive line and the defense being better overall than the special teams, believe it or not. And I'm just talking in terms of like, we're not going to be able to replace, a restack in one day. We're not going to be able to replace, our kicker in one day. We're not going to be able to replace all these guys in just one day. We're not going to be able to replace Caden Weegan at all. There's no replacing him whatsoever. So again, I expect the special teams unit to take the worst step back in terms of everything this year in general on this team, believe it or not. But I still think, though, that Eli Osric has a chance to be that guy who can come in and really at least stabilize things in terms of field goals and kicking. So we'll see what happens there. And then I thought it was actually really interesting. Kirk brought up that it is the 20th season of the Big Ten Network. So congratulations to the Big Ten Network and the whole team there. I love the Big Ten Network. I think that Dave Rebson, Jerry, and Howard, Mike Hall. I think that all Robbie Hummel has worked there for quite a while. We know Kevin Kugler has worked with the Big Ten Network. I think that the whole Big Ten Lisa Byington. I think that the entire Big Ten Network is amazing. I think that all of them have done a great job. They're owned by Fox, by the way. In case you didn't know, a little tidbit there for you. But I think that the Big Ten Network is awesome. I think they all do an amazing job. And I'm really, really happy to see them hit their 20th year anniversary this year. So, a little bit of a congratulations out to them on that. Today's episode is definitely going to be a lot shorter, as I'm only looking at 8.5 minutes here on the clock currently, in terms of how long I've spoken today so far. But the big piece is going to be what we're going to be talking about last. But let's jump into the NBA now, as a few days after episode 3 dropped, LeBron decided to go to Philadelphia. And as I talked about in the NBA offseason review episode, which was episode number 2, as we talked about then, if LeBron ends up going to Philly, which had been discussed at that time, they would win the offseason. And they won the offseason. They clearly won the offseason with this move. Now, let's go into why they're going to win the West, or the East, and why they won't win the Eastern Conference this year. And simply put, for why, they have the true young core that they really need. You have Jaylen Brown, and you have a ridiculous starting 5. Let's just get that right now. You have a ridiculous starting five with Tyrese Maxey, Jaylen Brown, VJ, LeBron, and Joel Embiid. If Joel Embiid can stay healthy, this team is going to win the East. If Anthony Simmons can come in and play lights out once in a great while, they're going to win the East. And be that solid backup point guard, that solid first man off the bench. If Dean Wade has a good season shooting threes, they'll win the East. But the number one key is, if LeBron and Joel Embiid can stay healthy, they will win the East. And that is also why they won't win the East. If they get hurt, if there's some sort of a major injury with Joel Embiid or LeBron, I'm not so sure this team wins the East. Even with Jaylen Brown coming in, I just don't know. And the reason is because of one team and one team only. And that is the fact that the New York Knicks core is all together again this next season. If it wasn't for that, I don't think there would be as many concerns involving Joel Embiid's injury history as well as LeBron James's injuries, potential injuries, knowing how he's getting up there in age now at 42, 43 years old. So, in my book, I think that this all comes down to Joel Embiid and LeBron staying healthy for the most part. That's what this Eastern Conference comes down to. And same thing for why they can win the NBA title and why they can't. But I'm going to throw another wrinkle into that as well. Now, I know the Spurs lost to the Knicks last year in the finals. I get it. But I truly believe that the Philadelphia 76ers match up better against a younger Spurs team than they do a more experienced Oklahoma City team. And I say that because the Spurs, overall as a whole, don't have the same experience as Philadelphia does. Now, quite frank with you, OKC doesn't quite have the experience either, a.k.a. LeBron. But what they have is they have Shea, who's been around and won a title, and Wembanyama, who has not won a title. So that's why I point out the fact to you that I think that if you're the Philadelphia 76ers right now, before the season even starts, you hope that you match up with the Spurs and not the Oklahoma City Thunder in the NBA Finals come next summer. Even though they are both, in my opinion, more athletic overall than the Philadelphia 76ers as a whole, considering the age. Alrighty, and one final thing here today. We're going to be talking about the NBA, or the MLB, why do I keep on saying NBA? MLB standings and trade deadline thoughts. And before I get into this here, there were a lot of big moves. These are just yesterday's big moves alone for the most part, except for Scooball. And I don't understand how the Dodgers keep doing it. I just don't. And the fact that they were able to get both Scooball and Chris Bubik is all that I need to know in terms of this is going to be a long lockout. And I mean a long, long lockout. And the fact of the matter is, I want a salary cap in baseball. A salary cap in baseball would stop all of this. would stop all of that. Would stop all these super teams. Even if you put the salary cap at like $275 million, let's say. Let's just say $275 million hard cap. Similar to what the NFL has. I mean, like, come on. Come on, man. Like, seriously, like that would even fix all the problems alone. But I don't know. I don't know. The players are just too stubborn because there hasn't been a salary cap in so long. Because there hasn't really been a salary cap and in their era, and they want to earn what they want to earn, and the owners are like, no, we need a salary cap. We need to make this sport more fair for our fans. And to be quite honest with you now, at this point, I mean, yes, I know that the Cubs beat the Dodgers 10-5 last night, which is fantastic. But, I mean, come on now. We all know now who will probably win the World Series again this year. We all know that. I mean, come on now. But speaking of the Cubs, they did make a couple of interesting moves here that I wanted to point out. Kevin Gausman, Braxton Garrett are both going to the Cubs, as well as Clay Holmes. Now, here's my problem with what the Cubs did. They traded away too many top prospects. I think they gave up too much overall for not enough. They traded away the number 2 overall prospect, Jamison Trinos, for Clay Holmes and Tyrone Taylor. What the crap are you doing? What the crap are you doing? I didn't mind the Kevin Gausman move. I believe that one was the one that involved Jonathan Lawn, if I remember correctly. Or was that the Braxton Garrett one? I'm getting all these trades mixed up here. I'm sorry. I literally just put down, like, in my list, I just put down, like the top MLB player to the team in which they went to. That's all I really did here. But, fact of the matter is, Cubs gave up way too much for what they're trying to bring in here. And again, we're going to have to redo the whole pitching staff next offseason anyway, after the lockout. Because we have all these guys now on one-year deals that we keep on bringing in, but they keep getting freaking hurt. It's like, what the fuck are we doing here? I mean, I don't get it. I truly do not understand. Adley Rutschman ends up going to the Red Sox. Really fascinating move here, in my opinion, by the Red Sox. And the Orioles, quite frankly. You generally don't see an in-division trade like that at the trade deadline. That was a big move. Orioles are selling, which is really sad to see, but I think it had to be done. I think it was time. I think that the Adley Rutschman deal in general, I wish the Cubs would have gotten in on that, to be fair. I wish the Cubs would have gotten in on that bidding war, to be fair. I would have really liked Adley Rutschman to go to the Cubs, but whatever. Luis Arraez to the Phillies. Another in-division trade, as he was in Miami before. 3-time batting champ. You know, Phillies are making a move. They made some big moves to try and get into that number 1 wildcard spot. And they had to as well, because remember, the Cubs have the head-to-head tiebreaker this year over Philadelphia. We won the tiebreaker earlier in the year. So, interesting there indeed. Freddie Peralta, another guy who I really wanted, ended up going to Tampa Bay. Jose Soriano to the Blue Jays I thought was a really odd move, because they trade away Kevin Gausman. They traded away Dalton Varsho and Kevin Gausman, and people were thinking, oh, they're just going to sell. Well, then they bring in Jose Soriano. I'm like, what the crap is this? I didn't really understand what the Blue Jays were doing, to be fair. I really did not get it at all. Bretton Doyle, who was in Colorado, ends up going to the White Sox. Brooks Raley ends up going to Philadelphia. And the last move that I'm going to mention here today is Dustin May and Jojo Romero to the Brewers from the St. Louis Cardinals. The Brewers lost a trade deadline here with this move. I'll just put it to you there that way. It was really the only big move that they were able to make. They lost the trade deadline for sure. I really thought that they were going to try and go for more than that, but they didn't. Overall, and I don't really know where we're going to be going here going forward. I don't really know what we're looking at here going forward. In terms of the last thing that I wanted to mention, of course, pitching was the theme of the trade deadline, for sure, as you could tell. Pitching was the theme of the trade deadline. Everybody thought it was going to be the theme of the deadline this year, and that's what it ended up being overall. So yeah, next, I'm not sure when I'm going to buy a new camera yet. I'm still working on figuring out what I want to get yet. So when I get a new camera, I get a new camera. But I'm hoping that I have something picked out this month, maybe next month. We'll see there on that. So, really much shorter episode today here. I didn't really have a whole lot that I wanted to discuss here today. Oh, one other thing that popped up yesterday that I did actually want to bring up. And my thoughts on the... where is it in here? Yeah, this is the other thing I wanted to talk about. I didn't have it in my notes. I'm so sorry about the delay there. Mauricio Porcento signed a new deal as the men's national team manager. Now, I like it. I thought it was a fine move. He did a good job, I felt like, overall. But the team still did not take advantage of the situation overall. I thought they were going to go a different direction. I'll be honest with you. I thought they were going to go a different direction. They ended up keeping him around through the 2030 World Cup. So they only extended him for one more World Cup. So all the longtime assistants are still going to be on staff. I believe in the future as well, to a degree. However, I'll be honest with you. I mean, it's going to be another, 20, 30 years before we can even win something, to be fair. Now, I truly don't believe that the United States took full advantage of hosting the World Cup. I don't think we took full advantage. Taking full advantage to me was getting to the round of getting past the round of 16 into the round of 8. That, I don't know what they call it in soccer, to be fair. I don't know if it's called the Elite 8 or not, like in March Madness. I don't know soccer. I don't know. So I don't know. But regardless, though, I mean, I get it, keep the core around, keep the staff around. I get it to a degree. But again, I wouldn't have minded a new set of eyes on the team. So that is actually going to be it for today's episode, everybody. I'm not sure what we'll talk about next week. We'll have to just kind of wait and see what pops up here. Maybe any fall camp news that I hear about, major fall camp news, or anything like that. Oh, wait. There was one more thing that I wanted to discuss. What that judge in Colorado did. If he hadn't heard, a judge in Colorado decided that student athletes that have played 4 years can come back and play a 5th year in college. I don't like it. I honestly don't like it. Because all these teams, it's just going to create more chaos. And it has. And it has been. I don't get it. Because, all these teams have their rosters all set up and everything already. Now, there are a couple of players for Iowa that could come back on the women's basketball side of things. Hannah Stolke and Taylor McCabe. But that is the most of an effect that it would have on Iowa, if at all. Again, technically it's beneficial to everybody, but let me just be honest here. Okay, just a second. I'm not a fan. I'm just not a fan of it. I wish they would have just left it alone and just let it transition. The NCAA was right to try and stop this. You know, I'm not. I get it that they're not happy. I don't get it. But that's my quick thoughts on that. Thank you everybody for watching today's episode. Please leave a like if you did, subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you next week. Have a great day, everybody.